When you think about clean for health and especially infection prevention, you want science to back you up what you're doing. Today, we're going to visit with CIRI, the Cleaning Industry Research Institute, specifically John Downey, the executive director, and Jim Harris, the chairman. Let's see what they have to say. Well, John and Jim, thank you for joining us today on this segment of Straight Talk. Hope you guys are doing well.
Doing fine.
I am anyway. Jim is.
Yeah. I'm in New York, so everybody can figure that out for themselves.
So yeah, you're in New York. Things are a little tougher for you than us here in Ohio, the Buckeye State. John lives maybe 5 miles from me. We're stuck at home and probably a little more freedom than you guys in New York have.
That's for sure.
Yeah, but we'll get through this. But thank you for representing CIRI today on this segment of Straight Talk. We want to talk about a couple of things that you might share with the industry. And one of those things is the future of our frontline workers. And you both can contribute what you'd like. What do you see as far as the future? How is this going to impact the folks doing the work in the buildings we're taking care of? Any thoughts?
Well, yeah, I do have a thought. And I think the most important thing to preface my remarks anyway is that there may be some specific discussion today, but I think I have more questions, Jeff, than I have answers.
Well,
this is a very disruptive thing we're going through. There's nothing that I can refer to. There's no book, there's no process. It takes a lot of caring for your employees, caring for your business, caring for your customers, so on and so forth. The employee is going to get better recognition. I have an expression I've been using during this thing. How do you like me now? Okay, we've been trying to sell effective cleaning efficacy, high performance cleaning for years and years and years. And the customer in many cases sits back and says, that's interesting. Now, what's the price? Okay, it's something like that. It's just a reality, for sure. But I think that the employee, the companies who manage their company well will come out of this, and so will the in-house programs. The employee, out of necessity of meeting demands of the building owner, are going to have greater challenge and require more training. We're giving some definition now to the science of cleaning as it relates to this battle we're having with the coronavirus. It's changing lots of things, but it's just in the beginning at this point. We don't know what way it's going to go.
Yeah, very true. What do you think, John?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question, because right after this, we did the symposium. It's been 3 weeks ago tomorrow. We had probably more questions after the symposium in terms of emails and texts that came in to me and Shannon primarily, specifically about worker safety. And we covered it, I thought we covered it really well with Patty, and several of the other presenters also discussed that as a part of their presentation. So I think there is it's even beyond an awareness. There is what would be the right word? A sensitivity, if you will, to their plight. I think it's good. And it's also another thing that's kind of interesting about it. And the symposium had people from different industries: the professional carpet cleaning industry, janitorial contractors, in-house people, restoration contractors. One group in particular, the one that I can best relate to, is the professional carpet cleaning industry, where a lot of the workers are owner operators. So they have both the frontline technician and management perspective as they're moving forward. And also, and this is also really important, is how do their actions impact their customers? And there's a real sensitivity to that as well.
Yeah. John, you know how to clean carpet?
I'm told I know how, but this guy who's now an editor of actually you're beyond an editor. You're the editorial director.
Yeah, we'll figure out what that means eventually. All right, good stuff. So let's talk about something that I came across in a survey. I don't have the actual survey, but the information says that this survey shows that employees value seeing cleaners during the working day, as opposed to assuming cleaning operations were completed before or after work. Jim, how do you think that's going to impact the day to day? I imagine with your own crews, you send them in at night. Do you see a
Well,
change
I
to
think
day
that
cleaning?
there's a lot of conflict here. There's a force field going on right now. There are facilities that are cleaned during the day based upon the type of facility, or for some reasons like energy or whatever the case may be, and they want to be around people. Well, the conflict today is we're not supposed to be around people. So if you're going to clean during the day, you got to stay away from people, at least 6 feet or 3
Mm-hmm.
feet. Well, how are you going to clean? I mean, it's just a practical application of what we're learning. Those who have been doing day cleaning, I'm sure, may stay there, but it might surprise some people. They may move to night cleaning. It's got a long way to go to play out, but my suspicion is that there'll be more touch point showbiz, if you will, so people can visually see high touch points being disinfected or sanitized. That is definitely on the rise. There's no question about that. The application of disinfection solutions and sanitizers actually now has a purpose that people had no recognition before. They took it for granted. So I think that the day cleaning is going to be in and out. It's going to change a great deal before we get out of this. I don't see a hard and fast rule yet at this point.
Yeah, so we're going to evolve and figure it out as we go.
And
Uh,
many things are going to be. It's
yeah,
going to be evolving. Yeah.
yeah. To me, it seems like if I'm working in an office and I see a professional cleaner doing their work, as you mentioned, those high touch points, I'm going to feel better about being in that building.
That is a point, and I think that's going to be emerging. Uh, the question is, you got to clean beyond touch points. So touch points is touch points, but then you've got an awful lot of other surfaces to maintain and floor surfaces to maintain. So, and trash to be removed and all sorts of things. To me, the problem is going to be working around people. Go through the grocery stores, and as you approach people, it's like you got a buffer zone.
Mm-hmm.
They move away from you. Well, if somebody's cleaning in the building, you got to ask a person to get out of their chair or pull things out, so on and so forth. I don't know the answer to that, but I know it's going to play a role, and I'm not sure how it's going to play out.
Exactly right. John?
Yeah, I would like to suggest the possibility that maybe the workaround is to have a larger presence of day porters in buildings who are doing those touch point cleaning I hate to say making a show of it, but being visible in that way. The downside I understand why people would feel that way, but the fact of the matter is that cleaning disrupts the environment. And as an example, with vacuuming of carpet, you are always going to increase the airborne particle load. So in a way, when you're going in there as a cleaner, if you have a lot of people around, you are not reducing their exposure, you're actually increasing their exposure on a short-term basis. That's an area, when we get into vacuuming, that I think that whole area needs to be looked at carefully. But specifically in buildings, I mean, I think it makes sense that people would like that, but I think if we're going to be most effective in our cleaning, most cleaning probably needs to be done when when the building is not heavily occupied.
So yeah, I know we want to talk about vacuuming. People that go into a building, they're going to do some vacuuming. Maybe if they're concentrating on cleaning and disinfecting for bacteria prevention, coronavirus is one right now we're dealing with. Any tips on that? You mentioned maybe when people aren't in the building, but what do you think, either one of you? Does HEPA vacuuming, is that something we should all engage in? Is there something else we should look at?
Oh, I definitely think that the whole HIPAA thing is going to come into play. It already is in play. There's a lot of that going on right now that people aren't aware of, but to cut down the settled dust load on horizontal surfaces is not to recirculate that air. You know, the coronavirus is pretty small, so it's not it's going to be tough to tame. It has to burn itself out, I guess, or chemicals. A virus is a hard to maintain. It holds on surfaces for longer than I had anticipated. Other things that I'm aware of. Vacuuming in some of the systems that we deploy, not to try to convince anybody else, a lot of vacuuming is a major role. It removes the most important stuff out of the building, and I think it's going to get first billing for those who are able to explain to a client what it means. And HEPA filters, ultra HEPA filters, those things are definitely in play without question.
So I imagine a question is going to come up. Does a HEPA filter or you said ultra HEPA filter?
There's various types. There's a lot of discussion on this right
Okay.
now. I'm not an expert on it, but
Neither am I.
Yeah.
I just wonder if, how small a particle they will trap, and you can't see it. So I guess you have to measure after cleaning to test this out. That sounds like science to me.
Well, it definitely is science, and we've got some great people who can explain it far better than John and I can. But you're talking about you're into oh God, nano is the number used for the virus, and that's just a small part of a particle. So we're dealing with some stuff that's pretty strange to work with. There's no question about it.
For what it's worth on the vacuuming part, I completely agree with Jim that HEPA and the highest filtration vacuuming we can have while also still having sufficient airflow for removal from the environment is good. But and speaking of science, the researchers that I've talked to have all indicated that while HEPA makes a difference, even a significant difference, it doesn't eliminate I'm going to call it, and it's an exaggeration, but I'm going to call it the dust cloud that follows vacuuming. It reduces it dramatically, but there are particles that do not go into the vacuum stream that fall off to the sides, and they become airborne. And something as small as the coronavirus is, once it becomes airborne, it doesn't settle a lot of times for a long, long time. I haven't seen a number on that exactly, but what I think I have understood is that it settling is not even if it's just that virus by itself and it's not contained in a clump with other things. That's not really even something that they are able to measure. But the thing related to that is, and this is important, especially as it relates to the coronavirus, is it's not a very hardy virus, and so I believe once it's airborne off of surfaces, I don't think its half-life is very long. So, and certain surfaces, and this was covered extensively in the symposium, certain surfaces are friendly to it, other surfaces are not. Some are from days, even a couple weeks, down to a couple hours. I just saw the other day that they have done a fair amount of work on coronavirus and sunlight, and it degrades very quickly in sunlight as well. So,
well, I'd like to make a comment about that dust situation. What we have found over the years is the backpack system that was introduced about 25, 30 years ago, greatly reduces the air going back into the facility. It's very strong filtration. And what John was referring to, and I agree, when you're dealing with a beater bar, you are going to stir this stuff up. And I think we've got answers to that. The vacuuming, in my opinion, is very important, and it's probably one of the more important aspects of the building, because those particulates, micro-sized particulates, they attach themselves to the virus. And I always was taught over the years that the virus required a living host to live, and that'll keep it going. But as soon as it gets out of that, then of course its life is cut by anywhere from 22 to 72 hours.
Well, good information. Could I assume that we'd recommend that folks that are vacuuming whatever system, that they consider those around them? Since those frontline workers are perhaps bringing those particles into the breathing space.
I definitely believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, when you think about it, if we can reduce the particulate load, we're reducing dusting. That's been proven many times. When we first started using the system, we found out that when we went to windowsills, for example, or tops of file cabinets, we noticed after 2 or 3 weeks of introducing backpack technology that there was less accumulation of subtle dust.
Well, that's measurable. That's good information.
Yes.
Well, guys, if you don't have anything more to share, I imagine we'll revisit science-based topics in the future.
Yeah, I would.
Is that what CIRI is all about?
You got it. And we have been very happy with the last event we put on, Jeff, and we reached an awful lot of people.
Yes.
And science is now starting to be represented well. You guys have done a great job with it over the years. People now beginning to say, hey, this is important. Take care of that person. And I'll tell you, you're going to see a big change there. You're going to see things change in favor of the cleaner.
Yeah. Well, of course, the ISSA motto is we're changing the way the world views cleaning. Together, we're going to do that. So
now it's got a stronger meaning than it did before.
It sure will. It sure will. Well, thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
Jeff,
Have a great day.